Hello students, good afternoon everyone. I hope all are doing well. Welcome to Infinity Learn by Sri Chaitanya. This is me, Soorya, your chemistry faculty from Infinity Learn. So I hope I'm audible to you. So is there anyone watching the live? Just mark your attendance here. So here in this session, we are going to unlock the full strategy to score maximum scores in the chemistry for the CBSE examination. As we already know, in the case of science, we will be including physics, chemistry and bio. So here we are going to discuss about the important point about the class chemistry. Class 10 chemistry subjects, and we will be discussing about all the important chapters here. So let's start from the chapter weightage, right? As we already know, in the case of CBSE examination, in the case of chemistry, we will be having 4 different chapters. We have already completed all the chapters. So we will be starting from the syllabus and the weightage breakdown here. From the previous year questions, we can identify that all the chapters, including the first chapter, that is chemical reactions and equations, right? This is our first unit, chemical reactions and equations. You can expect approximate 8 questions, right? Approximate 8 questions or 8-mark questions. From the first chapter, it is high priority topic here. Then what about the second chapter? Acid, bases and salts, right? Acid, base and salt, you will be expecting 7 marks question over there. Plus weightage. Weightage will be there as compared to the first chapter. Then metals and non-metals, our third chapter, we have already seen, right? What are the important topics in the case of metals and non-metals? We'll be discussing about the metals, non-metals, their chemical reactions with acid, base and so on, right? So here you can expect 7 marks question again for the third chapter. Then the last one, carbon and its compound, 6 marks, right? So out of 40, you will be getting around 28 marks for the high weightage topic here. I hope you understand, 28 marks, right? So what is the main weightage over here? If you are discussing about the complete chapter or complete chemistry chapters, you can say that in the case of chemical reactions and equations, you can expect more questions. So while you are revising the all chapters, you will be giving more importance to the first chapter. All other importance are very important. Then also it will be very important for the chemical reactions and equations. Now let us start from the chapter study plan, chapter-wise study plan. I have already taken some of the summary about the first chapter here. First chapter is the chemical reactions and equations, right? Chemical reactions and equations. As you already know, what are the important concepts we have studied, right? First one is the writing and balancing of chemical equation. This is very important, chemical reactions and equations, right? We will be discussing about the chemical reactions. Then we will be discussing how we are writing the chemical equations. These reactions, how we can represent in terms of the equations or the chemical equations, right? So first important topic in the case of this chapter is the writing and balancing chemical equations. This is very important. You can expect more questions from here. Then while discussing about the previous year question, we have already seen the types of chemical reactions, right? Types of chemical reactions including combination, decomposition, displacement and redox reactions. These are very important. Many times CBSE have already repeated these questions from these types of reactions only, that is combination, decomposition, displacement and the redox reaction. Then the effects of oxidation in daily life, effects of oxidation and reduction in daily life, like corrosion, right? Corrosion we have already seen. Okay, corrosion we have already seen. And again in the case of tarnishing of copper, right? Okay. Rusting of iron and tarnishing of copper. And the methods to prevent the corrosion is also very important in the case of application in terms of the daily life, right? So these are the very important concepts we are going to discuss, or we can expect this much topics from the chemical reactions and equations chapter. Then we need to focus about the strategy, right? What we need to do to score maximum in the particular chapter. At least you need to practice 30 equations. Take the previous year questions, take the equations, try to balance the chemical equation. That is the one ultimate strategy to score maximum here. Practice at least 30 equations. Then, as we already know, in the case of chemical reactions, we will be discussing terms of color changes, if they are forming precipitates, gases involved, right? So, in general, they will be asking 2 marks question directly from these topics only. What are the chemical reactions, how they are forming? Along with the examples, you can expect more questions from these topics. Is there any color changes happening? Is there any precipitates forming? Is there any gases evolving? That type of chemical reactions along with their examples are very important. So you can expect 2 marks direct question from the important topic here. For example, I have given a PYQ question here, previous year question given here. Write the balanced equation for the reaction between zinc and hydrochloric acid. Can anyone please give me the answer for this question? We have already discussed what are the important topics in the chemical reactions and equations. How we can score maximum in the case of chemical reactions and equations we have already seen. Now we need to just revise the topic by using the PYQ question here. Anyone please give me the answer here. What is the chemical equation? Balance the chemical equation for the reaction between zinc and hydrochloric acid. Is there any metal whenever they are reacting with the corresponding acid, they will be producing hydrogen as the gas, right? So resulting salt as well as hydrogen will be the gas formed here. Now we need to balance the equation, right? But how we can balance it here? Here it is 2 hydrogen, right? So I am taking here 2. So it will be 2 HCl. Now hydrogen and chlorine is already balanced. Now we need to balance the zinc, right? So 2 hydrogen, 2 Cl. So Zn plus 2 HCl gives ZnCl2 plus H2. I hope you understand. This is about the balancing of chemical equation in terms of the first chapter. Now we need to focus on the second chapter, acid, bases and salts. We have already completed the one-shot revision for the particular chapter itself. So as we already know, acid, bases and salts. We will be discussing acids, bases and salts, right? How they are forming the salts, what is the nature of their salts, whether it is acidic, basic or neutral depending upon the acids and bases, right? So what is our focus? Main focus is about the pH and its application, right? As we already know, depending upon the pH, we can predict whether it is an acid, base or the neutral species. If pH is equal to 7, it will be neutral. If pH is less than 7, it will be acidic. If pH is greater than 7, it will be basic, right? This is the basic idea about the pH and its values given here, right? Then towards the end of the chapter, we have already discussed many salts including washing soda, baking soda, plaster of Paris, gypsum and bleaching powder and so on, right? That is also very important. Many reactions we have already studied for the preparation of these important salts given here. So as we already know, washing soda means Na2CO3, right? Dot 10H2, water of crystallization. Then baking soda, NaHCO3. Then plaster of Paris means the calcium sulfate, right? CaSO4 dot half H2O, semi-hydrate. So these are very important. Their chemical formula as well as their chemical equations or chemical properties are also very important. Now the next one is the common reactions of acids and bases, right? We have already studied in the case of acids and bases whether they are treating with each other, they are forming the salts and so on, right? Depending upon the acids and bases, they are forming the corresponding salts. They have the very nature like acidic, basic or neutral, right? That is also very important. Salt formation, right? Especially in the case of neutralization reaction. Then according to our exam point of view, exam tip I have to given here. Learn salt formulae plus uses repeatedly they are asking. Salt formulae means if you are having any of the salt, like for example if you are taking NaCl, first we need to identify whether they are coming from strong acid or strong base and so on, right? So identifying the parent acid as well as the parent base. So from that you can identify whether the salt is neutral, acidic or basic. So you can expect more questions from the simple topic only there. The salt formulae and their uses repeatedly asked. Then just a trick is given here, depending upon the pH, how we can predict whether it is acid, base or neutral. I hope you understand about the second chapter. Now we are moving to the third chapter, right? So this is our third chapter, metals and non-metals. We are discussing about, we have already discussed about the metals and their physical properties as well as the chemical properties. Then we have already studied about the non-metals, their physical properties as well as chemical properties. Then we have already included the metallurgy part, right? Like the extraction of metals. So what are the key topics here? Reactivity series is very important because depending upon the reactivity series, we are going to discuss complete questions from the metals and non-metals. As we already know, you have already studied about the reactivity series of the metals. You can use any of the mnemonic for that to remember or memorize the complete reactivity series. That is very important. You can expect more questions based on the reactivity series. Then the extraction method, right? Extraction method means in the metallurgy part we have already studied concentration of ore. First one we have already studied about the ores, minerals and gangue particles. Then we will be discussing about how the metals are extracted from the ores, right? So different methods are there, especially for the aluminum, zinc and iron, right? Aluminum and zinc and iron we will be expecting special extraction method like electrolyte refining, right? That's also we have already discussed. So you can expect more questions from here also. This is also very important. Then what about the case of last one, corrosion and prevention, right? This is very important because the corrosion and prevention we have already discussed in our first chapter, chemical reactions and equations also. Then it is explaining again in the case of metals and non-metals. Hi, good afternoon. Okay, is it related to this topic here? Here I am giving the topic by weightage for the grade 10 chemistry. Okay, we'll be completing from here. So important tip is that you can expect 1 mark questions mostly come from the properties and uses. In every chapter, you can expect more questions based on the properties and uses, especially for the metals and non-metals. We will be expecting more questions from the exceptional cases. Okay, in the case of chemical equations or the chemical reactions, first thing you need to do that you need to write it down in a paper. Try to revise many times, right? Otherwise, it will be forget for everyone. Like we are taking any equations, right? So if you are not familiar with the equation, try to write many times in the paper. Then just revise. Okay, in the case of chemical formula of the compounds, as we already know, right, how to write down the chemical formula of the compounds. So I will just give an example here. Okay, I will just give an example here. For example, I am asking about the chemical formula of a salt here, right? For example, calcium phosphate. How we can write down the chemical formula? Calcium phosphate. Calcium phosphate, right? So if you want to write down the chemical formula of any of the salt, first you need to break it into cations and anions. Cations means they will be having positive charge, anions means they will be having negative charge. So I hope you have idea about the formula of calcium and phosphate, right? So here calcium will be having Ca2 plus, which means calcium is the cation here. Phosphate means PO4 3 minus, right? Yes, PO4 3 minus. Phosphate means PO4 3 minus. So in order to write down the chemical formula of any of the compounds, you need to memorize some of the charges of the chemical radicals like calcium, magnesium and so on, and phosphate, sulfate and so on. We have already discussed. Now what we need to do? Calcium 2 plus and PO4 3 minus, right? We are just crisscrossing the charges over here. So it will be forming Ca3PO4 twice, right? Did you got the point? If you are getting any of the compound, just break it down to cations and anions, then crisscross the valencies or the particular compound. So Ca3PO4 twice will be the chemical formula of the calcium phosphate. Is there any doubt? Okay, fine. So this is a trick to find, this is not the trick, this is a method to find out the chemical formula of the any of the compound. Then one more question was there, how we can memorize the reaction for the acid and metal, right? If you are treating any of the acid with metal, what they are forming, they will be forming the corresponding metal salts along with hydrogen gas. So for example, if you are treating zinc with hydrochloric acid, it will be forming zinc chloride plus hydrogen gas. So this is a simple trick to find out the reaction between acid and metal. So we have already recorded the session for the metals and non-metals. I have already mentioned what is the important point to remember there. So you can just reverse from there and you will get a proper idea about that. And in the case of acid, bases and salt, in the case of acid, base and salt, 5 important salts you have to keep in mind. First one is the bleaching powder, right? This is CaOCl2. The next one is the plaster of Paris. That is CaSO4.12H2. The next one is the gypsum, right? From the gypsum we can produce the plaster of Paris. So CaSO4.2H2. Then washing soda. Na2CO3.10H2. And last one is the baking soda. So these are the 5 important salts we have already studied in the acid, bases and salts. You can remember the chemical formula of these important salts here. Okay, I hope you understand. Now we are moving to the discussion of the last chapter, carbon and its compounds. So this is very important. I know that you are discussing the carbon and its compounds. This is the very basics about the organic chemistry, which we are going to dealing in the grade 11 and 12 classes in detail. But this is about the very basics. As we already know, carbon and its compounds means we will be discussing about the properties of carbon, right? How they are forming covalent bond. What is the versatile nature of carbon, right? We have already discussed in the case of carbon, they have tetravalency, right? Because of the tetravalency as well as the catenation power, they will be forming more organic compounds or the self-linking property, right? So these are the versatile nature of carbon. You can expect more questions from the simply covalent bonding as well as the versatile nature of carbon. This is about the very introduction part of the carbon and its compound. The next part is about the IUPAC naming, how we can name the compounds based on the IUPAC, especially for the almost all the carbon compounds. And especially here we need to focus about the functional groups, right? Functional groups like we have already discussed alcohols. Alcohols means functional group will be OH. Then what about the case of aldehydes? What will be the functional group for aldehydes? Anyone please respond? It will be CHO, right? So CHO will be the functional group for aldehydes. And what about the case of ketones? Ketones means C double bond or group. Then last one is the carboxylic acid, COOH. So depending upon the different functional groups, we'll be discussing about we have already discussed about the chemical properties as well as the chemical reaction. And we have already discussed about the IUPAC naming of these compounds, right? IUPAC naming of these particular functional groups. Then the last part is about the carbon compounds is the soaps and detergents, right? How soaps are working or how detergents are working. That is also very important. In terms of this part, diagram is very important. How soaps are working, how they are forming the leather with the, how they are forming, how they are treating with the hard water, right? So this is about the carbon and its compounds. And a tip for the examination is like that, draw all the structural diagrams. For example, if they are asking about anything about the soaps and detergents, try to draw the structure for how detergents are performing their micelle formation, right? So diagrams carry extra marks. So this is about the chapter-wise weightage here. I hope you understand about the complete chapter-wise weightage here. Out of all the 4 chapters, first chapter is very important, chemical reactions and equations. Balancing of chemical equations is very important. Then acid, base and salts, pH value is very important. And third one, metals and non-metals, about the chemical properties of the metals and non-metals are very important. The last one is about the carbon compound, especially for the chemical properties as well as the IUPAC naming. These are also very important from these 4 chapters for the CBSE examination. Now here it is the examining strategy. You can accept this one about as a, make it as a rule for your life. I mean 60 is to 30 is to 10 rule, which means that out of 60% of time you can use revise the concepts plus NCRT, right? We have already studied the complete concepts. Then use the NCRT and revise the topic from there. About 60% of your time you can use for concepts and NCRT building, right? NCRT concepts from, take the concept revision from the NCRT. Then about the 30% time, maintain a proper timetable for 30% time you need to focus about the PYQs, previous year questions, along with the sample papers. You can get more sample papers from the online websites, right? So you can take the sample papers and solve the questions. You will be getting proper idea about the CBSE exam pattern about that, right? Then around the 10% time, revision and formula sheets. That is very important. As we already know, in the case of first chapter, we need to memorize more chemical reactions, right? So make a proper formula sheets over there, then revise on a daily basis. That will be beneficial for you to revise the complete chapter before the examination. So follow the 60 is to 30 is to 10 rule. Then use NCRT wisely. As we already know, it is completely about the NCRT. So what we need to do, we need to just mark all the NCRT diagrams. It's not only for the chemistry, for biology also it is very important. And NCRT diagrams, equations, and in-text questions. Because in many of the previous year questions, you can see that many of the questions are asked directly from the NCRT itself. So NCRT is our guide for to get maximum scores in the chemistry examination. So okay, fine. So CBSE picks most of the questions from the NCRT itself. So you can expect more questions from the NCRT. So our first guide is to complete all the NCRT chapters. You can expect more questions from the NCRT itself. Now third one is the master PYQs and sample papers. You can revise more, at least 5 years of the PYQs along with 2 CBSE sample papers. If you are solving 2 CBSE sample papers along with the 5 years PYQs, you will be getting maximum marks. You will be getting full marks in the chemistry itself. So while completing all the chapters, what is our presentation tips? What is our tips? If you are appearing for the examination, first thing you have to do like that, write the chemical equations neatly. If you are writing the chemical equation with the balanced chemical equation, write the equations neatly. That will understand the examiner, examiner to get the proper identification about the chemical reactions. So first tip is to write the chemical equations neatly. Next one, use flowchart. If you have any flowchart, especially for biology, chemistry also you can expect more flowchart in the case of metallurgy. Use flowchart wherever possible. Right? Next one, always underline the key terms like oxidation and valency. In the case of first chapter, chemical reactions and equation, we have already studied oxidation number as well as the valency, right? So whenever you're writing about these terms, just underline the terms and you will get a proper idea about that. Okay, this is about the exam tips here. So now let us quickly revise the topics we have already studied. I hope that you have already completed all the chapters. I will give few questions here. You can just give me the answers here to understand your preparation speed. So here is the first question. Name the gas evolved when zinc reacts with dilute HCl. Anyone please give me the answer here. We have already discussed, right? Whenever zinc is reacting with hydrochloric acid, what is the gas formed here? It will be hydrogen gas, right? Now, write the formula of plaster of Paris. Plaster of Paris means CaSO4.2. Okay, plaster of Paris is half H2, gypsum is 2H2. Then, I think this question is from the classification of elements and periodicity property. I will just give the answer here. In the case of sodium, the electronic configuration will be 281. Or if you're asking about the substitute electronic configuration, it will be 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s1. Okay. And that is the last question here. Why does pH decrease when carbon dioxide dissolves in water? So if the carbon dioxide is dissolved in water, we have already studied in the case of acid, base and salt, it will be forming the carbonic acid, right? Carbonic acid means they will be the acidic in nature. So for the acid, they will be having the pH less than 7. So that will be the answer for the last question. So before completing all the chapters, after completing your revision for all the chapters, just revise these type of questions to answer whether you are revised correctly, completely or not, to check your preparation speed over there. So that's all about the chemistry examination tips for here. Just like a reminder here, class 10 chemistry is not about the mugging of chemical equations, right? So if you have an idea about the concept, you can easily, CBSE papers are very predictable. So if you have idea about if you are solving many CBSE papers as well as the previous year question, you will get an idea about the examination pattern. So it will be very predictable. So keep practicing, revise smartly and stay confident. So thank you so much all of you. I hope you guys enjoyed the session. If you have any doubt regarding any part of the chapter, you can ask. Before that, there is a general reminder about the SCORE examination. As we already know, Sajan Academy is giving you an opportunity for the national level scholarship examination, right? It will be applicable for the students from grade 3 to 12. Examination will be conducting on September 28 as well as October 12. So before September 26, you need to register for the examination. You will be getting 2.5 crores of cash rewards, NASA trips, exciting gadgets, as well as up to 100% scholarships. So I'm repeating again, link will be provided in the description. You need to register before September 26. This is like a good opportunity for you, for the students from grade 3 to 12. Okay, that's all about from my side for today. So keep practicing, keep revising. So CBSE examination is already predictable. Whenever you are solving many CBSE papers as well as the sample questions, you will be get a proper idea about the exam pattern. So thank you so much to all of you. If you guys enjoyed the session, hit the like button, share this session to your friends also, and subscribe our channel. If you want more videos like this, keep connected with us. Thank you so much all of you. Bye-bye.